back, and right now we have Josh from Doodle Board,
That's
and
right.
I'm so excited to talk with him and just to get to know a lot about this VR app and his company. So I'm gonna kind of turn it over to him and let him introduce himself and introduce his company, and then we can get started.
Thanks so much for having me, Viper.
Uh,
Hey, gang, how's it all going? My name is Josh. I'm one of the founders of a VR studio called Maui VR. Our first app is called Doodle Board, and it is the best whiteboard in VR and the best place to meet with a friend or a coworker to create, collaborate, and get energized about something you're working on. So happy to be here. So excited about the future of VR and happy to talk more about our vision, what we think about for what we want to build, what we think about for remote collaboration, creativity, and what we think about fun and stuff too.
nice, nice. Hey, let's start off with that. What is the vision? What do you see your app doing for VR?
So we started our company. My co-founder goes by the name Strictly, because we live in different places. I live in Toronto. He's in the US.
Okay.
And we wanted to come up with a cool project or business idea. And we started working in Zoom to try and figure it out. And it was exhausting. It couldn't work. Um, and we thought, well, maybe the VR space would be kind of cool or interesting or fun.
Right.
So we got a couple headsets. We started messing around with some stuff. And actually, I got to give a huge shout out and dedicated credit to Walkabout Mini Golf, which was where we did a bunch of our original meetings. We were just playing
Really?
around, and yeah,
Nice.
and I would get stuck like next to the hole on the 13th hole, and we would just be stuck there for 20 minutes. I'm waving my golf club talking about some idea, and Strictly's bouncing back and forth, and we're like, wait a minute, there's something that's actually really good here about meeting and collaborating and having a sense of shared space
Right. Definitely.
in VR. And so we started building Doodleboard basically for ourselves to kind of figure out what we wanted to build next, and it took on sort of a life of its own. Um, and that's just where we've been leaning into and going for the last several months. The difference between Maui VR, which is our studio, and Doodleboard, which is our first app, is I can imagine us building out a whole suite of creativity or collaboration applications or games to help
Right.
people who are spread out all over the world or even all over the city, who don't
Right.
have the luxury. I mean, Viper, you and I experience this ourselves. We
Right.
hang every week,
Right.
can't see each other. It's kind of difficult to meet up in person, but we've got a real good sense of each other's sense of humor, personality, quirks. And so I'm really excited to build into that and to apply a lot of the taste and perspective that Strictly and I have on what makes a good creative collaborative app and apply it to this space. So some of the things that we're building on and innovating and see as pain points is it's just been so difficult to get into a headset, get out of a headset, bring files in, push files out.
Right.
So not only are we building a space that's a world-class tool once you're inside of it,
Right.
but we want to really respect the fact that some early adopters are spending their whole day in their headsets. A lot of people
Yeah,
are
like me.
I'm going to use this for an hour and then go back to my job, and then come back in for an hour and go back to my job. So we want to really, really respect that and come up with point-to-point solutions so that if you know you want to collaborate with someone and sketch out an idea, or if you know you want to be able to build a technical diagram, or if you want to just blow off some steam for an hour, I want to make it as easy as possible to make getting in and out of your headset as close to as seamless as pulling up your phone or pulling up a Zoom meeting or something like that. So that's a
Nice.
little bit of our vision and our North Star goal. And every week that we drop a new release, I think we get a little bit closer and closer to that.
Nice, nice. So you did mention that you did drop a new release, so I'd like to let people know they dropped a
Yeah,
new release out. Go check it out. Tell us
yeah.
about that new release.
So a couple of features that we've launched in this new release. One, we've now expanded rooms. We started with two-player capacity. We expanded to three. Now you can get up to six people in the same room. That's been
Nice.
super, super important.
Right.
We've heard a lot of requests. We've heard a lot of requests for that from our community that we want to get more people in. It's a tricky balance because I also want to make sure that we engender the sense of intimacy and community in rooms and collaboration. Like the more people you bring into a room, the harder it is for everyone to feel like they've got a voice at the table. I think a
Like
lot
real life.
about like, yeah, absolutely. Like real life. I think a lot about a rule from the early days at Amazon that Jeff Bezos would cite that like teams can't be bigger than a room that can be fed with two pizzas, right?
Wow. Okay.
If you've got more people than that, if you can't feed the room with two pizzas, then you're probably got too many people in the room.
All right.
So we're definitely still thinking about that in addition to like the technical complications of more people like that. But we're always thinking about new ways to make things engaging and fun. So another we put this literally under like a little gift icon as we added some word search puzzles to our rooms now so that when you're waiting for
Nice.
someone else to show up or when you want to
Yeah.
kick something off, like you just pop a word search on there. And a lot of what I experience when I'm meeting with someone on Zoom or in person or whatever, like if you and I were going to meet in a coffee shop, you would find me like fidgeting with my coffee cup, picking away at the edge or picking away at the corner of the table. If you were going to find me in most Zoom meetings, like quickly I get distracted and I switch tabs. I'm checking my Gmail, checking my phone. All that stuff is like pretty natural for twitchy people who've been trained on social media and notification attention. What we want to do with our app Doodle Board and with our app suite in general is really respect that people have short attentions and they're twitchy and
Yes.
they want to be able to do different stuff, but I
Right.
want to make sure that we allow you sort of an energy valve or a release valve for that without pulling you too far away from the conversation at hand.
Right.
So like with a whiteboard in front of you, you can always just draw something freehand on the board, like a flower or a landscape. With the very, very light game, like a word search, you can like see, oh yeah, there's a word, you cross it through, but you're never really losing or escaping from the space. You're
Right.
always still there and focused and can pay attention to what's in front of you. I'm looking down and I'm like, I could even show this here. Like I've got like all kinds. I got a fidget spinner. I got buttons. I got like all different stuff. I have an Xbox controller for some reason. I'm not. There's nothing connected. I just like touching and playing with something because if I'm doing this, then I'm not playing with my phone and I'm checking my text messages. So that's kind
Nice.
of the mentality that we want to make sure that we can engender for our players, and even better if we can do stuff that both sides can play with at the same time
At the
as well.
same time. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. That is awesome to think of outside of the box type stuff. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like think of other things to bring them inside your world. How difficult did you feel or do you guys feel that it is to create an app that fits everybody?
Oof. It's tough. And definitely, like I can even myself feel like we're getting such a great response from really two pretty different types of users. And you can even see this in some of the photos in our new App Store release, where like there's a big use case among professionals who are using this to meet and collaborate and come up with ideas and draw
Right.
like diagram sketches and things like that. And then there's also a class of users who are using the whiteboard to play games. Who
Tic
like
tac toe.
I got to give a shout out to some of my new users who are like just drawing up these ornate landscapes and battle scenes and stuff like that.
Wow.
And those different kinds of users have very different needs, right?
Right.
Um, the pro and the double-edged sword of building in VR right now is like it's a blue ocean of opportunity, and there
Right.
are so many spaces where things are like there are rigorous, precise, very heavily vetted standards for how a mobile app should work and respond, how a desktop app should work and respond.
Right.
Like in VR there are some norms, but there's so many other things that are wide open and give us a lot of room to explore and experiment. And it can be really hard and challenging, and the work that we do really boils down to like I'm in the app all the time, I'm always engaging with people who are using the app. I'll slide into someone's DMs and be like, yo, I'm one of the devs here, let's chat, let's hang out, tell me what you're doing, what you're working on.
Nice.
And learning from them, and really just trying to let the people who are using the app lead and dictate what they want, and hopefully that leads to a good overall place.
Nice, nice. I really give it to you, devs, man. Y'all come up with this stuff, the ingenuity and everything that you have to put inside an app, and the vast majority of people that you guys have to attend to. You know, this type of
Yeah,
group, this type of group, this type of group. You just never know who's actually jumping in, and then you know everybody's saying, "Hey, I want this. I want this. Can you do this? Can you do that?" And I know that it's a limitation that's with your app. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to like stuff that you could put in it, and then they got this new MX pen that's coming up. Is that going to be
yeah,
compatible? So it's so many things that I guess people, like me on the other hand, that's using apps want to see, inside of an app.
yeah. It's also like really exciting when I go to try and meet a user for the first time. Like I have logs internally that I can see the user ID that joins in, but I don't know anything. I don't know anything about them. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they live. I don't know how old. I don't really know what else they're doing besides that. So like there's this incredible rush moment of like when I meet someone for the first time, even inside of our app, like we've been very pointed about so far minimizing the existence of avatars and personalities. Like, it's very, very simple because I think there are so many other ways to understand who an individual is through their gesticulations, through their hand movements, and it's really, really leveling and equalizing that everybody looks pretty much the same physically. I don't know how tall anyone is.
Right.
It's so
It don't
exciting,
show you
and I think
that.
no, we don't I don't want to see that, right? And with that, like it really centers the focus on what are your ideas, what are you thinking about, what do you want to draw, what do you want to say, without getting distracted by anything else like that. So it's really, really exciting and fun right now.
That is super exciting to know. Um, this new V67 that's out, man. It's going to be exciting. Um, that brings me to a question, because you know how you can go to the home screen
Mhm.
and you can have a couple of people in there. Is it possible to draw your doodle board out of your app into other apps, or can you meet into your app and turn on pass through? How would that work?
Yeah, so we built pass through, and it's another one of those things that's like it for me. I the first time I turned pass through on in our app, it was mind blowing. Like there I am in my living room, like my dog is sitting next to me. I can pet my dog while I'm working in VR. It changes the perspective as
Right.
well. Like the whiteboard feels like one size when you're in an immersed view, but then it's pass through view and it's like it's the entire size of my wall. It's wild, right? I'm not all the way sure with what's available in V67 yet. I haven't gotten the download yet. I
Me
don't know how to
neither.
get
So yeah.
alpha access to it, but I definitely think a lot about the interplay and interaction between different apps. Like, you know, back to what I said earlier about the origin story. A thought in my mind was like, man, it would have been really great if I didn't have to leave the 14th hole of the mini golf course. I could just pull a whiteboard up here and we could draw from it. Like that would have been really
That'd be
helpful.
cool, right? Yeah.
I could even imagine like playing a game like Legend of Zelda, and in my like inventory kit, like Zelda's got bows and arrows and bombs and boomerangs, and or Link's got bows and arrows, bombs and boomerangs, but like he's also got like this other stuff. Like I
Right.
don't know if I can bash an enemy with a whiteboard, but like sure, why not? In the middle of my game, if I'm thinking about something, give me an opportunity to pull it up and draw it out, especially if I'm doing something like if I'm doing a tactics game like that's co-op. Like
Right.
if you and I are playing, let's pull up a whiteboard and draw out our strategy for how we want to
That would
enter
be
the next
wild.
room
Yeah.
and then go through that, right? That would be really, really
That
cool.
would
It'd
be
be
really
really
great.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that's possible, like there's a lot of questions, technical, on the software level, but also like in the ecosystem level. Like I don't know what Meta's ambitions are and their different incentives,
Right.
but like I totally see a vision for that. It would be super, super exciting, and we would be for it. We would be happy to build into that if it
Are
came
you
to
the
pass.
technical side of the thing, or are both of you guys technical? Or
Strictly the technical side, I'm the glue. I try to do everything else to help support Strictly and make their life as easy as possible.
all right?
Yeah.
Because I know it's always that, one side, but then you need the other side. Then both of you guys can kind of just collide and make it work. So that's
Yeah.
how.
We're really fortunate that like we operate very, very much on the same brainwave
Right.
wavelength, and just like it's really, really satisfying a partnership to have a partnership like this. It's so cool. And it looks like a great Venn diagram too, where we have some skills that overlap in the middle and then areas of expertise where it's like sometimes Strictly pulls something off that I'm like, how did you do that? That's nuts. That's unbelievable. And then other times it's also like, man, I was thinking the exact thing and you beat me to it, and that's
Right.
awesome.
That's
And then
good.
reciprocally, like I don't know, sometimes I get to do some cool things that work really nicely. That as much as everything else, like it feels super exciting and rewarding, not just to build for our users, and we get more of those all the time, but to be able to build for like our business counterpart as well, and to be the primary users ourselves. Like every
Right.
time we build a new thing that helps us, it's a wonderful feedback.
It's a win-win. It seems
Yeah.
like, yeah, because you could do.
Yeah.
I was super amazed that you guys, just like in real life, businesses happen on the golf course, right? So y'all got businesses
Yeah,
actually
yes,
happen
right?
on the golf course.
Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
Right. That was really good. Well, how long has it been? Actually, did y'all start in App Lab and then to the Meta Store, or how did that whole thing work?
We're still in the App Lab.
Oh, still in. Okay,
Um,
it's just
yeah,
that we
we're
can see the
still-
App Lab now. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they made the App Lab more available, which I think was a really, really good change. It was very puzzling to me that you couldn't. And like honestly, a big part of the reason why I just boosted up our just spruced up our app description was like when we first built the app, I looked at it and I'm like, I don't think anyone is going to discover this in the App Lab organically. I just couldn't see how it was possible. So I don't know if this is like going to get me a slap on the wrist if someone at Meta listens to it, but like I read the App Lab specs, and I'm just like, okay, it needs to have a trailer and 5 images that meet these dimensions. Fine. It doesn't even matter what those are as long as it's technically correct.
Right, right,
Because at the outset, I'm just like, no one's gonna care about that. Everyone is gonna download the app because they heard it from me, and I just point them there.
right.
And then what changed is like with the App Lab opening up, like we get organic downloads. People are just searching for doodling games or drawing games and stuff like that, and they're downloading us and they love it. And so I'm like, huh, okay, I guess that original hypothesis was good for a while and
Right.
it's not good anymore. We got to go back and take this a bit more seriously and make sure that we're putting our best foot forward there. And so I'll be keen to see if the new imagery helps uptick discovery or downloads or anything like that.
It's all about that. Okay, if you're on YouTube or your Instagram or you're in the meta page, it's the algorithm, what people look at, like you said, about the attention span and how quick can you grab somebody, them first 3 lines in the description. It has so much to do. So good job on grabbing it. And then once you download it,
Thanks, Viper.
then the application is just good. You know what I'm saying? Like I doodled inside of it, right? I went in there, I messed around with it, I messed with things, and I was just having some little fun up in there. And then I did hit that pass through, and all of a sudden I was like, "Holy moly, this big board is in my room!" You know, so
Yeah.
and with your pass through, if I have 2 or 3 people in there, they will show up in my pass through too, right?
Yeah, well, so they will show up. You'll see their visor and their controllers. They won't see your room. You won't see their room. That's all
Right.
still you. That's all still private.
Right.
For good reason, of course.
Would you see the avatar or no?
You would see our version of the avatar.
Okay,
Yeah, so
okay.
it's the visor and the controllers, right?
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's a whole
But
thing too of getting
we're
the avatars in there, right?
yeah, we're thinking about it. I've heard that request a lot. It's on our backlog. We're thinking about it. I know some of the folks who are listening are going to be shaking their fists when I'm like I'm not committing to it being the number one thing. But like I said earlier, there are just so many cool and interesting and weird ideas. Some which are like very obviously gonna make it more accessible.
Right.
Some which are cosmetic and whatever, right? When I think about like one of the structures that I think about for making our app work and effective is I want to make the core product, the whiteboard itself, as amazing as possible.
Okay.
And then I also want to make it as quick and easy as possible to get in and get other assets in, and also to get out, right? So, for example, like a lot of our users these days will like take a Quest screenshot and send it to me in Messenger. And I'm like, that's cool. That's super fun.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
One of the best things that we built is like, I think we have the easiest email export in the entire Quest ecosystem for now.
All right.
And
Okay.
like maybe someone can check me if I'm wrong, but like it's so important to me that if you're working on a technical diagram or a creative diagram or whatever, it is so easy for you to get that out to your desktop to be able to pull your headset off and continue the work that you're doing, right?
Mhm.
So I'm thinking about get people in as quick as possible, get them doing the work that they need to do, and then get them out also as quick and as easy as possible. And to me, like making more sophisticated avatars can definitely help. If it helps you with your creativity and your sense of presence, then that's a real good on number 2. But there's also so much room to respect a number 1 and number 3.
Right.
Always, and like you said in your experience as well, like something that I think about as a metric is like, I want it to be as fast as possible for you to get that first stroke on the board. Like, I don't want you to be navigating like waiting rooms, welcome rooms, whatever. Like
Right.
it should be the first thing you do is start getting your stuff down on the board. Because often enough, like you're not coming to the board with like a zenned out empty mind. You're coming in with like, oh, I got some stuff that I got to do. I
Right.
got some ish. I got some Strictly and I are going to have a conversation. We got to recap and we got to beat on some new version. right? So I want it to be as quick as possible. I can start sketching stuff out.
Right.
That's something that's super important. So
Nice.
we'll
Yeah.
see. It's on the backlog. I know.
So I do have another question.
Yeah, sure.
I know we get into that time, but I do have a question. What is your view on views, like locations? I was shocked. Like most people that do a whiteboard or something like that, especially with business stuff, you would see like an office table and all this other stuff, and it's strictly just a zen place where you could just kind of relax and chill, see the art style that you have. I was wondering, like, what made you go that route instead of the more traditional?
I'm so glad you asked. And there's a couple different ways I can think about answering that. I love that we are our base background is a forest clearing. Actually, I should say our first one that we built was it was like a beach island. Mm-hmm. And we played with that for a little bit, and I'm like, and strictly had a perfect observation. It's like, he's like, I'm kind of lonely. Like I feel like I'm like abandoned out of here. And so we switched to a forest clearing because the trees and the rowboat that's gently rocking, that was a custom build on his part. Amazing.
Nice.
Like engendered a sense of like, there's other people. You're still kind of by yourself if you're entering for the first time, but there's still like a closest sense of it. I don't think people go to VR because they want to fully replicate the experience of being in an office. I don't necessarily think people want to experience being in an office outside of VR. That's a whole separate question. So we were like, we want to build a space that is desirable for you to go to. We also, our philosophy is we want an environment that for now is low poly. It's lower fidelity than what you see in a bunch of other apps because right. At least today with the Quest ecosystem we're building in, the pixel density on the visors is such that like if you were to put a really HD picture of a clearing or a landscape stuff behind you, like I've looked at that and I'm like, I get close to it and I'm like, that's fake. That's just a picture. Like I'm always like, it messes up my brain, right? It totally distracts me. It takes me out of the space fake. And I'm thinking like, wait, this is a fake spot, right? So I've also like spent my whole life playing video games and I can get deep into a Super Nintendo game as much as a PlayStation 5 game. And so I really respect the idea that like we wanted to build a low poly space so that your brain goes, oh, I'm in a forest clearing. It's a forest clearing. That's it. I can stop thinking about it. I can stop putting it in my mind. My brain's not in the uncanny valley trying to figure out what's going on here. Right. So that's why we go that way. And it's also why, even if we build avatar heads, like I'm very skeptical. And I'm very skeptical of avatar arms because like, every once in a while, this is me going off on a bit of a tangent here, but like every once in a while you put your controller here and you see someone's arm like showing out of their chest or something. And like every time I see that, it just hits me in the face and I'm reminded, wait a minute, this is fake. I'm in VR, whatever. Every time something totally abnormal happens, I have an easier time accepting that I have an arm floating in space or a hand floating in space than an arm that juts out of my stomach. So we, at the biggest level, are always thinking about what is the difference between virtual world and what we call meat world, and how do we respect that, and how do we build for that? For the same reason that like our whiteboard, like it doesn't have legs, it's not standing up on anything because in VR gravity doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. Right,
it doesn't exist. Right.
So.
Good deal.
Longer answer, maybe you're expecting, but something I super care about.
Yo, I gotta say, I love your app, man. I love where it's going, and I'm excited to see exactly where it is heading. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited to see where it's going, and I'm looking forward to the forward progress of Doodle Board, man. Anything you want to say to your viewers before we end this podcast?
We're all good, Viper. Thank you so much for creating this space, asking some real good questions. I hope that you get a good sense for what I'm about and what our app is about. Of course, like definitely go check the app out. App discovery is still really difficult, so I built a bit.ly link. It's just bit.ly/getdoodleboard. We'll send you right to the right app store page instead of the ugly link version.
Cool.
And
Now
my
put it in the description.
yeah, my Quest username is @secretpassword. You can friend me, DM me, whatever. I'm always down to hang, sketch something out, play a game, whatever. But thank you so much, man. It's been a real
Cool,
pleasure.
man. I see you back in the verse with your hair.
You bet. Yeah, that's right too. Cool.
Peace. All right. Thanks.